Down the world's darkest highways into the vast unknown, yours truly, David Barnabas Spector, leads you on a unique journey into the minds of professional wrestlers, paranormal investigators, and an array of human and inhuman oddities. This is RadioDARK. And joining us on this episode, direct from Dr. M's Mad Mausoleum, all the way in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. As part of the Sentimentalists, he has appeared on America's Got Talent. He is a wrestling manager, supernatural entertainer, and collector of the bizarre. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome Mysterion the Mindreader to RadioDARK. Mysterion, thank you so much for making the time to join me here on today's program, my friend.
Hey, no problem. No problem. I love the program, so it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And just to set the stage for today's episode, in the world of professional wrestling, which we both share, the essence, the beauty, and the art form lies within the work, in the ability to convince the masses to believe the unbelievable. However, for you, Mysterion, your ability far surpasses that of manipulating the minds of the typical insectoid wrestling fans. You have actually been on national television in front of a live studio audience with millions watching at home, where you have successfully worked individuals like Penn Teller, like Simon Cowell, Brad Paisley, Howie Mandel, Terry Crews. I mean, earlier today I was watching clips from America's Got Talent and from Penn Teller's Fool Us program on the CW, and honestly, man, I was in shock and awe to the point where I sent the clips to my lady friend, and her response was, how does he do it? And I could only say that I have no idea, but I know that Mysterion is a tremendous worker. So what I'd like to start off with is, Mysterion, if you would be so kind, if you could talk about the origins of when you discovered you had the gift of this unique entertainment form, and how did you form the Sentimentalists along with your partner, Steffi K?
Well, that's a very multi-tiered story going back decades, from when I was a little boy watching guys like the Amazing Creston on television, and being heavily influenced by television programs like The Night Gallery or In Search Of, or That's Incredible. You would have episodes where they would show individuals that had purported supernatural abilities. And, in a way, it kind of went hand in hand with the world of wrestling. You had guys that were superhero-sized with, the dreaded finisher that was almost like a power. When this person executed that finisher, that was it. And so there was this kind of scope of different influences that were lack of a better word, brainwashing me into this headspace that, there is a place for extraordinary people, because people have always been fascinated with the ideas of supernatural powers. Speaking to the dead, for example. Rampantly, the idea of speaking to the dead, the spiritualist movement in America was so impactful between the Civil War and World War II that 1 in 3 Americans were spending money weekly on psychics. Think about that.
Wow.
This is how much power this idea had over the populace. And wrestling is very much in that same vein of impact. Now, going back to when I was a little kid, I was raised by my grandparents, and my uncle was living there, and he was a very what's the word I'm looking for, a hobbyist magician who did occasional shows at the high school type thing. And I had an idea of how these things could work. I could literally see behind the curtain. And I started to read magic books, but, the magic was fine and dandy, but you could come up with an idea of how some of it was done. There's a rope, or you're palming it, or it's going up your sleeve, but with the mentalism, it seemed impossible. It seemed supernatural. How did somebody just influence me to pick a certain shape or bend a spoon with their mind or any of these things, or a prediction? Somebody on television, Nathan Kreskin is who it was, actually gave a spectator an envelope and asked them to go into a library, pick up a book, open it up, find the word, and then when they opened up the envelope, the word matched. And that was the beginning of the end for me. So I started to study the psychology behind magic, not so much the tricks themselves, but the psychology behind the tricks. And I think that's what sort of made me a little different, that I understood how they impact the individual. And I kept on the low. I would perform very rarely. I would do it more for friends and family. And then about 20 years ago, I trained as a wrestler in the 90s, believe it or not. I'm older than people think I am. Starting to feel it now, but I don't look it, fortunately. And, here I am laying, I'm actually, to all the listeners, I'm actually laying here with my foot bandaged and up on a pillow because, 25 years ago I could do a moonsault and land on a table. Now I can't walk past my keyboard and clip my foot on the side of the stand. I'm bandaged up for 10 days, right? But anyway, the point is that when I was now I lost my train of thought. There was this. There were shows back about 20 years ago. I started to appear on wrestling shows as a manager, as a DJ who would interfere with the other. I would deliberately play the heel's music, the wrong music, to get him hot, and then of course that would put the crowd. It would pop the crowd, and that would be part of a storyline. Or I would look like this meek sort of guy, and they'd bring me in the ring, and then I'd somehow fluke a victory or something like that. They kind of played with my character that way. I didn't have much say in how I was working these shows. This was when I was training. This was in like the 90s.
Okay.
Then I went into doing magic because I just by chance had an opportunity at a variety night to go up on stage, and I did 15 minutes, and literally, like, the place was silent. I was kind of like, what? Like, people are coming up to me afterwards, like, can you talk to my dead mom? And I'm like, yeah, I can. Sure, let's do it. And then I realized, holy shit, like, wow, what a power this is. Like, I didn't use anyone. By no means have I ever manipulated someone in the wrong way. But I realized that, I could toy with people. I could toy with someone and go, your house is haunted? Yeah, you're fucking right, your house is haunted. And then start manipulating them. Right by the bathroom where there's that little vase. You want to feel the presence right there when you're in the... Everyone has a fucking vase in their bathroom back. It's this sort of idea that I would come up with, and then I would listen to and watch their reactions. And when I started to see people go, their eyes open up and they're getting freaked out, I go along with it. Listen, man, I'm telling you, David, it would make people cry. And I would go, this is something. This is like Dusty Rhodes cutting the promo.
Sure.
And
Yes.
so I realized how much impact it has on people. So I started performing, and pretty much in the first year, maybe 8 months to a year, the national paper, the Toronto Star, which is a Toronto-based paper, was a bigger paper at the time, gave me a call and said, do you want to do an article? I said, okay, I did that. It would be a little blurb, but they gave me this, 2-page spread, and I was like, what's going on? And I wasn't ready for it. And overnight, I had to come up with something, and I put on a big theater show, and it was packed, and it wasn't the greatest show by what I could do today, but it was good enough that people knew who I was, and there weren't other mentalists really doing it at the time. And so I was able to build a fan base. And, this was back when MySpace was around. I would build a MySpace account. I would take the incentive to physically make posters and post through the city. But no event, just Mysterion, and that was it. Just a picture of me with somebody under a trance or whatever the case might be, or an illustration, or, those, what do you call those, dog walker, like you pull the little tag off the bottom of the picture with the phone number written on them, you know what I mean?
Yes,
cut
sir.
it. I would make those, and it would say, pick a shape, and then they would have like different shapes on them, and it made no sense. And as I did that, I realized people were getting intrigued on a grassroots level, going, "What is this?" And when they would see an ad in one of the local circulars, or on maybe even on a news broadcast in the morning news, I might go on the morning show. The shows were packed, and then I started getting private bookings, doing events, doing company parties, bar mitzvahs, even anything. And and then while I was doing that, I was financing my love of toy collecting and my love of oddities collecting, and it sort of all went in one giant mishmash of, there wasn't one specific thing. It kind of all happened at once. And then I was working with wrestling, so I started to put a little bit of money into promoting and working as a manager and very occasional wrestler. But as the heel who could manipulate the outcome of a match, and essentially we played with that. That eventually became another program in wrestling that got a television show in Ontario. And then I kind of noticed a drop with my interest in magic. I was sort of not necessarily disliking it, but it was so routine. I hadn't updated my effects or my routine in a long time. It was very redundant for me. I wouldn't say the word boring, because I love it, but it became monotonous. And then by chance I met Steffi Kay, who is a wonderful young lady from just north of the city. She moved to the city and had a knack for this, and really picked it up quick. She brought a different look to the act. I was sort of the Vincent Price, Dracula, Herman Munster, or not Herman Munster, Eddie Munster, sort of weird-looking guy. And then she was this pristine, classic Hollywood, vintage 1930s star. And when you put them together, it's literally Beauty and the Beast. I mean, you can't get any better a sort of yin-yang than that. And I'm telling you, man, we debuted at a show in the November of that year, and by the June of the following year, we were performing at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, which, don't ask, I don't know, it just kind of blew my mind that it happened so quick. And we were building it on a lot of my credentials, of course, but I can't say that it wasn't. It was because of me. It was because of what we created in that short period of time. We invented this act that was unlike any other act of its kind. There are many amazing two-person mind reading acts in the world, but ours just had this sort of dichotomy that people were digging. And we went to the castle. We got our work visas for the States. We started to appear at small magic theaters, and then started to get lots of big company parties and things in Toronto, and then flying out to the different provinces here in Toronto. Here in Canada. Here, see what I just said? I just made Toronto the center of Canada there. And then we went to do Penn and Teller, and her and I came up with an idea on with a little help from a few friends, and we basically went on the show with just the expectation of going on and having fun, and we sold Penn and Teller, and that was kind of when we realized, we have something here that can get bigger and bigger. And then America's Got Talent called. So we went and did America's Got Talent. Actually, America's Got Talent called and then postponed. And then they called back and said, we're going to do it the following season, which is when we ended up going in